Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a quick hit podcast to get you ready for today. Well, a lot to talk about on this one. We're going to recap a busy weekend. Paul Skenes made his MLB debut. Maybe you heard. I'm going to talk about the ins and outs of that. Also, what led to it, some stuff going on with the Pirates. Maybe a couple tidbits from Steelers rookie minicamp was over there last week as well. But first, want to remind you that you don't have to be a baseball fan to love it at the North Shore Tavern, but the interior is wall-to-wall Pirates. We are sponsored by the North Shore Tavern. Obviously, there are appetizers, entrees, cocktails, and of course, steak and seafood on a sizzling lava stone. Open every day. The North Shore Tavern across from PNC Park is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. So I was actually over at North Shore Tavern. I stopped in there real quick before Paul Skenes' debut. An interesting day, to say the least. And there are obviously other bigger picture topics going on with the Pirates, but I feel like we kind of have to start there. It was rainy and so ugly. And then all of a sudden, Paul Skenes takes the mound and it changed. Is there anything to that? I don't know. But it was a fun day nonetheless. Skenes, I thought, was electric in every sense of the word. Like, the stuff was outstanding. That being said, we can be a little bit critical of it, I think, in the sense that he needs to be a slightly more pitch efficient. And Paul said it afterward that he needs to get guys out quicker, which I think is a completely fair way of going about it. That being said, I think it's entertaining, exciting, all that stuff to think about what's ahead for him. He's going to start this week in Chicago, and that stuff, what he did, will play anywhere. I have full confidence that the control is going to be better. As I stood out in left field and sort of thought about what this must be like for Paul Skenes, I was walking around the ballpark quite a bit for an A1 story, and just the amount of attention, eyes, stuff outside, how much tickets cost, the run-up, national attention that he's getting. I couldn't imagine pitching on that stage. And that's obviously why I'm sitting here talking to you, and Paul is pitching for the Pirates, in addition to about 1,000 different reasons. But, I think we have to, in a little ways, sort of discard what we saw in his first start. There was a lot being asked of him. I thought he handled it extremely well. I think in a long game, he's going to handle it extremely well. And that's sort of what I wrote about in the A1 piece. And, I also talked about, I bumped into his dad, for instance, who I've talked to before, but, talking to Craig about what is in Paul's makeup to be able to handle this. And I do think that we're going to see a neat transition as I tie together his debut and going forward with the ability, the stuff, all of that's going to come out, and there's hopefully going to be a little bit of a breath. Because I go to something Ben Cherington said. He said, if I have one wish for Paul, it was that he could kind of, just take more time to soak this all in. And I think that's going to happen now. I think he's really going to relish just being one of the guys in that clubhouse and being able to, at Wrigley Field this week, go out and pitch. And what a cool first road start, by the way. I'll actually be there writing about that and some other things. But that's going to be neat to see as he sort of develops and, how he's able to mature, how he's able to adjust, how he's able to manipulate his stuff, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens on the Paul Skenes front, but a very special day, a very strange day, the way that happened. I could not believe the way the fifth inning unfolded and all the walks and blow a lead. And Yasmani Grandal, of all people, hits a 3-run homer. The Pirates hit 5 home runs in all. Just a very, very odd day at the ballpark. But if we zoom out a little bit and think about this whole homestand, which I wrote at the beginning of it, is going to determine a lot about their season. Well, I think we can say that it determined their season is still going. I mean, they didn't, come out of here with 1 win and are a total hot mess. I don't think so. In that way, I was wrong. But I also probably wanted a little bit more. I think I have a feeling that is echoed by Pirates fans as well. Like, you'd want to see a little bit more dominant. We've started to see some signs of life from some guys, but I wouldn't look at the Pirates lineup and think that they have anything solved. And I point to Sunday's game to prove that out. So many opportunities they had to score a run, score runs, rally, do something to affect change. And this team just struggles to hit so much with runners in scoring position. And I thought it was interesting as Ben Cherington was talking about Rowanzi Contreras and saying it's his job to put the roster in the best. Well, I guess it wasn't just Rowanzi Contreras. It was the moves they made and why he's doing what he's doing. And our Andrew Destin asked him about the offense and the struggles. So it was kind of all tied together in the same conversation. But he was talking about putting together the best roster possible, and it's on him. And, they trust that it's from a lot of guys in there, but they still have to look for all solutions, etc. I mean, if you are Ben Cherington right now, how much more patience can you afford to have? And I know we've talked about that on this show a lot. But I look at how little they're converting, how prevalent that is up and down the lineup, and my other available options. Yes, they're limited in terms of veterans, guys with options, that sort of thing. Could one of them need a 10-day unplug? Potentially. I'm not sure they're going to want to take that right now, unless you're trying to get, somebody like Andrew McCutchen, if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, I'm not sure. But I look at a Rowdy Tellez, and, they made a signing this offseason and really hoped that it would work out. But to this point, it hasn't. It's a power position. You certainly want more coming from first base, and whether that's Jake Lamb, Connor Joe Moore, I don't know. It's sort of a tough situation where you have so many guys struggling. And I talked to Rowdy about that this past week, where it's like, one guy can kind of hide, one or two guys can hide, but 6 or 7 can't hide. And right now I think about Jared Jones Friday, Paul Skenes Saturday, Bailey Falter Sunday. All 3 of those guys gave the Pirates a very good chance to win the game. Martin Perez has been excellent. Mitch Keller, complete game his last time out. Like, these guys have thrown their butts off, and they've gotten very little to show for it. And I understand playing a long game. I understand to a degree believing in the process. But Cherington himself has talked about after 40 games, he gets a pretty good idea of what his team is. Right now, that's not a good look. It's not, they have acknowledged a need to win, a want to win. They have acknowledged it in their actions with bringing up Jared Jones, with bringing up Paul Skenes, and it's just not being reciprocated on the offensive end. I think we are nearing that time where they're running out of a runway. You can give guys a little bit more to find themselves, but at this point, you're going to give Nick Gonzalez a stretch. What happens to Jared Triolo? He has not been right so far this season. Jack Sawinski, same deal. I mean, those guys can be sent out. You look at McCutchen, Tellez, Michael A. Taylor, I thought was a little bit better, at least in this last series. We'll see where it goes in Chicago. And I mean, Taylor, I guess sort of like Triolo, they're adding so much defensively, but at this point, I don't know how much more than maybe a week. This upcoming road trip, you could possibly ride that out. We'll see what they say, or we'll see what they do. Anyway, I want to switch gears and talk just a little bit about Steelers rookie minicamp. Just a couple-day event on the South Side. Stopped over there on Friday and Saturday. It's tough to glean too much, right? Football in shorts. One guy that stood out for me, though, is Peyton Wilson, their linebacker in the 3rd round. Every time I see him, I wonder, question, scratch my head, whatever, thinking about how he fell to the Steelers and what that could mean for them. He was talking about being one of the most athletic linebackers in the country, and what he feels like he can do, and being off the ball, on the ball, he's built extremely well. He's so talented. Obviously has had trouble staying healthy, but like, if you could grant him a clean bill of health for this season, allow him to learn with Patrick Queen, the Landon Roberts, spot him in where necessary. Boy, do I like that addition for this defense. I really do. I was over there thinking a lot about like what they experienced at middle linebacker last season and how rough of a go that was for them. And discounting the injury history for a second, just what a huge move that would be for them. Another guy that stood out was Roman Wilson. Our Brian Batko wrote about him today. I would urge you to check out Brian's piece and all of what Roman Wilson has gone through. I didn't realize having to like fly to a different island in Hawaii to go to high school, but Brian explains that extremely well. I still do think they're going to add some sort of receiving option that is a legitimate number 2. I don't think you want to ask that out of Roman Wilson. I mean, if he's your number 3 to start the season, great. And he maybe he earns time as a number 2 and moves up the depth chart and challenges that other guy. I don't know. I would just like personally to have 3 targets for Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, whoever emerges, and give them more. 2 backs, tight end. You want to have a diversified offense. I think that's what they're going for with Arthur Smith. But to me, the second wide receiver is the key to that. But I also really like Roman Wilson. Brian gets into that piece, some measurables and some comparisons to Deontay Johnson. I mean, if that stuff comes to fruition, absolutely fantastic. And I really like Roman Wilson's demeanor. I just worry about too much too soon for him. All right, that does it for me today. I'll get into more talk tomorrow, probably try to nail down a guest and add a little different element. You don't have to listen to me every day, although I guess if you're listening to this, maybe you want to. Anyway, make sure you like and subscribe. You can get all the content from our Post-Gazette writers and other columnists. And thank you for checking us out.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.